Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are reviewing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, directed by Wes Ball, who is taking over from the likes of Rupert Wyatt and Matt Reeves, who directed the Caesar trilogy. And Kingdom takes place many generations after the Caesar trilogy, which really allows it to go and do its own thing. And in that way, I think honors the Caesar trilogy more so than had it been a direct continuation of those films. In terms of story, Kingdom follows Noah, our new protagonist, who after his tribe gets raided by a very oppressive and almost like ape-like militia, basically goes on this journey to find the rest of his clan who were kidnapped and taken prisoner, teaming up with a human along the way who can speak, and basically trying to free his clan from the tyrannical rule of new antagonist Proximus Caesar. Kingdom has a prologue scene that pays tribute and homage to the Andy Serkis films. It doesn't feel particularly necessary or relevant to the story we're going to go on to explore, but it's a nice way to kind of acknowledge the passing of the torch. The Caesar trilogy brought a maturity and a grittiness to modern day franchise blockbuster filmmaking that I think we rarely see. I'd say it's probably one of the most underrated trilogies of all time. War for the Planet of the Apes is, in my opinion, the best use of CGI ever in the history of film. The photorealism, the crispness of the image, and the quality of the motion capture is second to none. And just the tone that those films managed to sustain across all three films, the maturity and approach to character-driven storytelling, which was not only complex but compelling, nuanced, and thought-provoking, is very unmatched in these days. And I'm happy to say that Kingdom does not lose that tone. It is very much in line with the films that preceded it. It delivers a very mature, compelling, and serious narrative, filled with characters who are interesting, who feel like they have a real place and purpose in the world and not just in the film, which I think is a big difference, and helps to expand the world building of this saga. And the benefits of keeping that serious tone are that stakes feel high, action sequences feel tense, and emotional moments feel much more earned in light of that. The film covers a lot of similar themes that the other films did cover. The evolution of the apes and the irony that comes with that in terms of how they often come across the same pitfalls as the humans did. They suffer from the same sort of hamartias and character flaws and selfish ambitions and power hungriness, as well as the distortion of legacy, the manipulation of a people, and the continuing struggle to be able to coexist between the humans and the apes. This film definitely has more scope and scale than the Caesar trilogy. I feel like those films were very self-contained, and wisely so. Those films are all about the apes finding a home, settling down, trying to preserve, and trying to find a sanctuary where they would be safe and not hunted. This film is all about acknowledging the world beyond your small one, so it kind of takes the opposite approach. Noah and his clan are very removed from the rest of the ape civilization out there. And the quest he goes on is as much about him discovering the world and his place in it as much as it is about rescuing his people. The film is the longest of the Apes films so far, and you do feel that. The pace is quite slow, and particularly in the first half, it doesn't seem to be in any rush to get you from place A to place B. But it almost gives it a classical feel in that regard. It feels like a more epic journey. It feels more natural as well. It doesn't just feel like we're leaping from plot point to plot point. And retrospectively, I think, minus Rise from the Planet of the Apes, I think they've all been quite slow paced. There's always been a focus on the quieter moments of letting the apes just breathe and interact. And I would say that although the pace lags at times, it does overall lend to the film and the nature of the world building going on within it. Character-wise, the protagonists are all very likable. They're not really as compelling, or I don't think they face as much crisis as Caesar did, and it doesn't really feel like we tread over anything new or progressive in terms of the character arcs. I think the MVP of the film in terms of performance is Kevin Durant's Proximus Caesar, and although I don't think he's got an arc and a journey that lives up to the antagonistic heights that Koba did in Dawn for the Planet of the Apes, he is still a really compelling and charismatic yet menacing figure in this film. Koba's villainy was coming from a very personal, traumatized place, which made him such a compelling and tragic figure. Proximus Caesar's is coming from a much more egotistical place. The desire to have what humans had, to know what they know, to have access to the intelligence and the technology that would make his power much more supreme and uncontestable. The film definitely could have done with a bit more of that. The film chooses to end in a way that I think keeps the direction of this series ambiguous. It teases a much more human resurgence and presence in the coming films, even though I think this trilogy of films would be much more interesting with a prioritized focus on ape conflicts and ape antagonists. as they try to cultivate this new world for themselves. But the dichotomy between Noah and May, the human character, is very interesting and very complex. And were that to evolve into just a conflict of interest rather than a conflict of good versus bad, I think it could make for a really compelling narrative in and of itself if that is the route they choose to go. But if you have seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, guys, do drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Please also consider liking and subscribing. That is always a huge help for me. And in the meantime, we'll see you for the next vid.